And we're back to our main topic of the day, the European Council summit in Brussels and the Western support for Ukraine. As for the first time during Donald Trump's second term, both the US and Europe imposed sanctions at the same time to cripple Russia's war machine. And to talk about it, we're joined by Gerlinde Niehus, a former Deputy Director for Defense and Security Cooperation at NATO. Good evening.
Good evening.
We need to put more pressure on Russia for the negotiations to begin, said Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky today in Brussels. Has Europe done its share of work this time?
Well, I guess later the night will say, because for the time being, the package on the sanctions from the EU, the 19th package, has been approved actually already yesterday. But there's still the ongoing discussion on the use of the frozen assets in the region of 140 billion euros because of the concerns from Belgium. And that discussion will be resumed after dinner tonight. So I guess we're going to learn at best in the late hours of the day. But apart from that, I think it is positive that the Commission, sort of building on its white paper from March this year, has presented a very comprehensive but also very ambitious roadmap, Defense Readiness 2030, which was by and large endorsed by the summit. So, and that clearly drives the agenda in creating more capability in key areas on key focused flagship projects. It pushes for industrial and financial levers. But also there, more work needs to be done because from those 9 capability coalitions, which are mentioned in the roadmap, only one so far really has lead nations, the one for drones and counter drones. Those probably will be the Netherlands and Latvia. But all the other ones, so 8, are still, in that sense, orphans. So they still need lead nations to take them forward. So that's an important job to be done in the months ahead. There remain big shortfalls when it comes to joint procurement. The paper admits that it currently is still under 20%. The EU aims to move this to 40% by 27. So also that will be quite a push. And then with my NATO background, I may add, there's also still a lot of haziness when it comes to a clear labor division between the EU and NATO, for example, in relation to the Drone Defense Initiative and the Eastern Flank Watch. Yeah? So also there, more work needs to be done in order to have a really seamless cooperation between these two institutions. So progress, yes.
You said that we're still awaiting the decision on the Russia's frozen assets. However, I'm wondering whether, if it's positive, Europe will use the money to buy European-made weapons for Ukraine.
Yeah, I think that is what has also been confirmed or indicated by President Zelensky himself. That he says, he will predominantly use the money for buying European weapons. So not really reparation in that sense, but more dealing with the immediate needs of Ukraine, which I think is a logical move. But he also indicated that in case there are real urgencies, he needs to purchase the weapons where he gets them. Yeah, so I think he will want to retain some wiggling room there. But also that probably will be part of the negotiations which are currently still unfolding.
Now, what do you make of the spectacular U-turn in Donald Trump's foreign policy towards Russia? I'm talking about new sanctions.
Well, I think I have to, from my perspective, I'm pouring some water into this wine. I have read all these coverage on welcoming the sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil and how great that would be. But again, the devil is in the detail, because if you look into the way this is formulated, these sanctions would only commence on the 21st of November, so roughly a month from now. And then the language which they are using, they talk about they may result in sanctions, and they may run the risk of being sanctions. So it is not they will result, or this will be resulting in this. So it's all very wobbly, and in many ways it remains to be seen whether those sanctions will really be enacted. Yeah. And in many ways, at least in my reading of what has happened, this is perfectly in line with the findings of a US minority report prepared for the US Senate in August this year. And one of this report main findings actually shows that the Trump administration immediately stopped taking basic sanctions and export control actions that had been maintained under the previous administration. And incidentally, they also reduced the staff to enact on these sanctions. So I will stand to be convinced that these sanctions these new sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil will be really imposed.
Well, Reuters reports that both India and China are already suspending the purchase of Russia's oil. If it really happens, do you think that Vladimir Putin's regime can survive such an economic blow?
Well, the higher the pressure on the Russian economy, the better. And I think we are seeing on many fronts already that the sanctions do have an impact. But we also still need to close the other remaining loopholes. I mean, the EU now, with its sanction package, has made progress in phasing out the LNG imports of Russian liquefied gas, putting more ships on the sanctioned list of the Russian shadow fleet. Yeah, but when I'm looking at the shadow fleet, I mean, according to a number of sources, this shadow fleet is by now in the region of 1,000 ships. The EU is sanctioning now about 500. So I'm just saying, also there's a way to go. Huh?
Absolutely.
Lukoil, I mean, why are we not targeting in Europe Lukoil itself and the network of its petrol stations? I mean, just as a case in point, I mean, Lukoil Romania last year made a turnover of over €1 billion, yeah, and Lukoil Belgium close to 1 billion. So, and we still have countries importing significant quantities of Russian crude oil. So I'm just saying, also on the European soil, among European members, yes, we are making progress, but there's more to be done.
It's supposed to change in the very near future. Now, lastly, I'd like to ask you about President Zelensky's visit to Sweden. 150 Swedish Gripen fighter jets for Ukraine are on the table. Now, could they clear the Ukrainian skies from the Russian threat? But the question is, when will they get there?
Frankly, that I don't know, because it wasn't really part of the information which was mentioned by either of the Swedish government or Zelensky himself, talking about that. But clearly, I mean, 100 or so Gripen won't arrive in one package, so it will be a process triggered over several years. And yes, it will be helpful, but it will need to be combined with other support to Ukraine, be this the long-range distance weapons, the famous Tomahawks from the US, or the Taurus from Germany, which still haven't been provided, although the Merz government initially indicated it would do so. So also there, I mean, we need to continue providing Ukraine with every support it needs in order to win this war on its own terms.
President Zelensky believes that the issue with Tomahawks is not over yet. Gerlinde Niehus, former Deputy Director for Defence and Security Cooperation at NATO, was our guest this evening. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more news and interviews here on TVP World.